Chosen ones, this message is for you. There's a reason you've been set apart, a reason why life sometimes feels like silence surrounds you. God built you in silence so that no enemy can ever break your foundation. You've been through storms that no one saw, cried tears that no one understood, and faced battles that weren't meant to destroy you. They were meant to shape you. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. When God wants to make something unshakable, He doesn't build it in the open where anyone can interfere. He builds it in private, in solitude, in silence. Before we begin, I want you to stay with me until the end of this video, because this message carries energy meant to awaken something inside you. Let this message speak directly to your spirit. And as you listen, I invite you to write your warmest wishes and 99 in the comments, a symbol of divine completion and manifestation. Now, chosen one, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's begin. The moment you start believing that your silence is sacred, everything shifts. The world might tell you that being alone means being lost. But the truth is, God isolates His strongest soldiers before He reveals their purpose. You've probably noticed that when you're in your season of silence, people leave. Opportunities pause. The noise dies down. But what's really happening is construction. God is laying a foundation so strong that no enemy can ever penetrate it. He hides you not because you're unworthy, but because you are priceless. You're being built, not buried. Every chosen one has a silent season. It's that phase where you question everything, your worth, your path, your purpose. It's the time when God removes distractions and replaces them with discipline. It's when you start seeing who's really for you and who's only around when you're shining. In this silence, your spiritual eyes begin to open. You start understanding things that can't be taught, only experienced. The pain you endured wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You see, God can't let just anyone witness your building process. Not everyone can handle your blueprint. In this silence, you learn endurance. You learn patience. You learn to depend on God in ways that human relationships could never provide. The chosen ones are often misunderstood because their training doesn't look like everyone else's. While others are celebrated publicly, you're growing quietly. While they receive applause, you receive wisdom. And that wisdom, chosen one, will carry you farther than any stage or spotlight ever could. You are being equipped to withstand storms that would destroy ordinary people. You might not see it now, but every delay was divine. Every rejection redirected you. Every moment of silence strengthened your spiritual roots. Trees with shallow roots fall when the wind blows. But the tree that survives the storm is the one that took years to grow underground before anyone saw its height. That's what God is doing with you. He's building you from the inside out. He's making sure that when you rise, you never fall again. The enemy can't attack what he can't see, and that's why God built you in silence. The silence is sacred because it's where transformation happens. You were stripped of things that no longer served your purpose. You were placed in environments that challenged your faith. And yet through it all, you remained standing. That's how I know you're a chosen one. You were built to endure. You were built for impact. You were built for purpose. Every tear watered your destiny. Every heartbreak polished your spirit. Every setback positioned you for something greater. You may not have realized it, but even when you were silent, heaven was speaking. Angels were assigned to guard you, to keep you, to guide you. The silence wasn't a void. It was a voice. It was God saying, I am here, even when you can't hear me. You thought the silence meant abandonment, but it was actually alignment. God was aligning you with your higher purpose, your true calling, your divine design. You were being recalibrated. When God builds you in silence, He removes the noise that clouds your intuition. You start hearing your own spirit again. You start remembering who you are, not who the world told you to be. The silence reveals your true power because it forces you to listen inwardly. It teaches you to rely not on external validation, but on internal confirmation. You begin to recognize that peace isn't found in applause. It's found in obedience. And when you walk in obedience, no enemy can break you. Chosen one, your silence is not empty. It's full of divine construction. God was building your endurance, your discernment, your inner strength. He was shaping your character in private, so that when He reveals you publicly, you're unshakable. The reason you faced so much betrayal, misunderstanding, and rejection is because your purpose is too powerful to be surrounded by noise. God had to protect your process. He had to make sure that your foundation was built on faith, not validation. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are hidden for a reason. The world doesn't see it yet, but your season of revelation is coming. Every chosen one has a moment when the curtain lifts, and everything that was done in secret begins to make sense. You'll look back at the silence and realize that it wasn't punishment. It was promotion in disguise. You'll see that while you were waiting, God was working. While you were doubting, He was designing. And while you were silent, heaven was celebrating the masterpiece you were becoming. There's a reason your path felt different. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, but only after your spirit was fortified. God can't elevate what isn't stable, and that's why He took time to build you deeply. Your calling is heavy, and only those who are deeply rooted can carry divine weight without collapsing. You've been chosen for something that requires strength, patience, and humility. Those aren't learned in noise, they're learned in silence. You were isolated so you could be initiated. The loneliness you felt wasn't a curse. It was a classroom. It's where God taught you how to hear Him clearly. It's where you learned that solitude is not the same as isolation. It's elevation in disguise. The chosen ones are never alone, even when they feel like they are, because in that stillness, the divine whispers direction. The silence became your sanctuary, your secret place, your spiritual gym. It's where you learned how to stand when everything around you was falling. People won't understand your silence because they weren't meant to. They'll think you've disappeared, but really, you're being developed. They'll think you've lost, but really, you're learning. They'll think you've been forgotten, but really, you've been found by God. The chosen ones are hidden treasures, unseen until it's time to shine. And when that time comes, no enemy can stop you, no weapon can touch you, no curse can stand against you. Because your foundation was built by divine hands. Every disappointment was a divine appointment in disguise. Every delay was protection. Every silence was strategy. God knows what He's doing with you. You might not understand it now, but when you step into the light, you'll realize that the foundation He built in silence was preparing you for a future that requires strength most people don't have. You'll walk into rooms you never thought you'd enter. You'll speak to hearts you never thought you'd reach. You'll carry an authority that comes not from titles or followers, but from transformation. The silence trained you for the storm. It taught you how to survive when others collapse. It taught you how to hear God's whisper amidst the world's noise. You learned to walk by faith when you couldn't see the way. That's the mark of a chosen one. You learn not to panic in silence because you trust the builder. And when you trust the builder, you never fear the process. Chosen one, remember this: your silence was sacred. It was your making, and no enemy can break what was built in secret. When God built you, He didn't build you for comfort. He built you for calling. He didn't build you for applause. He built you for assignment. The silence stripped you of what was temporary and filled you with what was eternal. That's why no matter what comes your way, you remain standing. You are unbreakable because your foundation was laid in divine silence. So when people question your absence, your quietness, your detachment, smile, because they don't understand that you're not avoiding them. You're aligning with Him. The silence is not your punishment, it's your preparation. The silence is not your weakness, it's your weapon. The silence is not your emptiness, it's your empowerment. The chosen ones are being refined for revelation, and when your time comes, the world will witness a strength that no storm can shake and no enemy can break. You've been through too much to give up now. You've come too far to doubt the purpose behind your pain. The silence built something in you that the noise never could: peace, patience, and power. You are no longer who you used to be. You've evolved, you've matured, you've been molded into something that reflects divine endurance. The silence birthed your authenticity. It revealed your divine DNA. The time of revealing is near. You will rise not because you chased recognition, but because your spirit was aligned with your Creator. And when you rise, it will not be fragile. It will be firm. It will be forever. The foundation that God built in you is eternal. It cannot be broken, shaken, or stolen. You are the evidence of divine construction, silent, solid, and sacred. When you start to understand that your silence was divine training, you stop resenting it. You stop questioning why certain people left, why certain doors closed, and why nothing seemed to move for a while. Because deep down, you realize that God was protecting your process. He didn't want the wrong hands touching what He was building. He didn't want the noise of the world contaminating your clarity. So, He built you in silence, away from opinions, away from validation, away from distractions. The chosen ones are not built in crowds. They are built in caves. It's in the hidden place where destiny takes shape. The cave is uncomfortable, yes, but it's also holy. It's the place where your fears get confronted and your faith becomes unbreakable. You learn to find comfort not in answers, but in trust. You learn to rely on strength that doesn't come from applause, but from alignment. You begin to see that what felt like isolation was actually insulation. God was wrapping you in divine protection while He worked on your foundation. The silence wasn't punishment. It was preservation. It was God saying, "Let me do this part without interference." And when God builds something, it lasts. You may have been misunderstood by people who could only see your surface, but that was part of the plan. They couldn't see what was growing underneath. They couldn't see the roots being strengthened in the dark. The silence was your season of depth. You went deep so that when you rise, nothing will uproot you. That's why, chosen one, you can't compare your timing to anyone else's. You were built differently. Your process takes longer because your purpose reaches further. The higher the calling, the deeper the foundation must be. Every sleepless night you endured, every unanswered prayer, every moment of stillness, all of it was sacred. It was God chiseling away the parts of you that couldn't go where He's taking you. You were refined, not rejected. You were purified, not punished. Every delay was a lesson. Every silence was a signal. You were learning how to stand on faith when everything else was shaking. You were learning to be rooted in peace, not popularity. Because when you finally step into the world with the light God placed in you, that light will attract attention, but your foundation will keep you grounded. Many people want the blessing, but they're not ready for the building. The building process is quiet, it's slow, it's hidden. It requires surrender, and surrender doesn't make noise, it makes power. You surrendered your will, your plans, your timing, and in return, God gave you stability. He gave you clarity. He gave you spiritual stamina. You learned that power isn't found in being loud, it's found in being still. You learned that you don't have to announce your anointing. When God builds you in silence, your presence will speak louder than your words ever could. Chosen one, there were days you felt invisible, forgotten, maybe even abandoned. But you were never alone. You were being observed by heaven. You were being molded by divine hands. You were being equipped with wisdom that others would never understand because they didn't go through what you did. The silence gave you sight. It opened your spiritual vision so you could see beyond what's visible. It taught you that not everything silent is empty. Some silences are filled with divine activity. When nothing seemed to be happening, everything was happening behind the scenes. The silence built endurance, but it also built empathy. Because of your pain, you now understand people differently. You can feel energy before words are spoken. You can sense truth beyond appearances. You can love deeper because you've been through darkness that forced you to appreciate light. That's why you don't chase attention anymore. Your peace is priceless. You've learned that God's approval is greater than the world's applause. You've learned that your validation doesn't come from numbers, followers, or trends. It comes from purpose. You have to understand that some people will never comprehend your silence because they live off noise. They need chaos to feel alive. But you, chosen one, were called to live from stillness. That stillness gives you power. It's where you hear divine instructions that others miss because they're too distracted. That's why you had to be separated, to sharpen your discernment, to strengthen your intuition, to teach you how to move with precision. When God sends you back into the world, you won't move emotionally, you'll move intentionally. The silence stripped away your dependence on external things. It taught you that your peace can't be bought and your purpose can't be interrupted. You've been through too much to ever go back to who you were. You've seen the power of transformation firsthand. You've witnessed how silence can heal, reveal, and rebuild. Now you walk differently. You don't rush, you don't beg, you don't chase. You attract because your energy is aligned with your purpose. You understand that timing is sacred. You've learned that what's meant for you will not require you to compromise your peace to get it. Every time you thought you were falling apart, you were actually falling into alignment. You were being shaped by unseen hands. You were being prepared for stages that require spiritual stability. You see, when the spotlight comes, so does pressure. But you won't crumble because your foundation was built in stillness. The storms that were supposed to destroy you actually strengthened you. The silence you once hated became the soil of your strength. That's why you carry a calmness now. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. You know who you are, you know whose you are, and you know that nothing that was built in silence can be broken by noise. God didn't allow certain people to understand your process because it wasn't theirs to understand. He didn't allow certain opportunities to stay because they weren't meant to sustain you. Everything that left made room for something that lasts. You had to lose temporary connections to gain eternal clarity. You had to walk through silence so that when the world gets loud again, you won't be moved. You'll stand firm, grounded, and ready. That's the mark of divine construction, stability under pressure. You're stepping into a season where your silence will speak for itself. The peace that radiates from you will confuse people who knew your pain. The strength that emanates from you will silence every doubt that ever surrounded your name. You won't have to explain your journey. Your presence will explain it. Every chosen one has a glow that comes not from success, but from survival. It's the light of someone who's been built from the inside out. And when that light shines, no darkness can comprehend it, no enemy can extinguish it, and no foundation can be broken. The silence was your shaping. The isolation was your initiation. The pain was your polishing. And now you're stepping into purpose with power that can't be shaken. The chosen ones don't move from fear. They move from faith. You've learned that when you trust the process transforms you. And once you've been transformed, nothing external can define you again. That's why you're different. That's why you carry an aura that feels both peaceful and powerful. It's the reflection of divine construction, built in silence, revealed in strength. Chosen one, there comes a moment when you stop waiting for people to understand your silence and start understanding it yourself. You begin to realize that silence isn't emptiness. It's evidence of sacred transformation. Every season of stillness was orchestrated with divine precision. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. There's a peace that comes when you finally accept that you were not delayed. You were being designed. You were being refined, tested, and trained for a mission that requires spiritual strength, not surface success. Many people crave visibility before stability. They want the light before they're ready to carry it. But God knew you couldn't be rushed. He slowed you down because He was grounding you. He hid you because He was healing you. You had to be detoxed from the noise, from the illusions, from the false versions of yourself that the world tried to shape. In that silence, you were stripped of everything that wasn't authentic. And what remained was pure, your truth, your essence, your divine energy. That's why you feel things so deeply. That's why you sense energy so clearly. Because silence taught you how to hear what's not being said. It trained your intuition to pick up on frequencies that words can't hide. You now know that energy never lies. You can feel when something's right and when it's off. That's not paranoia, that's spiritual maturity. The silence opened your spiritual ears. It sharpened your discernment. It made you see that not everyone who smiles is sincere, and not every opportunity is divine. You learned to separate noise from guidance. You stopped chasing validation and started seeking direction. You stopped trying to fit into places where your spirit didn't feel at home. That's the power of silence. It recalibrates your compass. It brings you back to alignment with your divine coordinates. The world will always try to distract you with attention, but silence reminds you that attention without purpose is emptiness. God built you in silence because He needed to make sure that when the attention comes, you won't lose yourself in it. You're no longer easily swayed by opinions or intimidated by rejection. You've seen how temporary both can be. The same people who doubted you will one day need the light you carry. But you won't need revenge. Your results will speak for themselves. The chosen ones don't retaliate, they rise. They don't argue, they align. They don't seek approval, they serve purpose. That's the mark of divine building. Humility in power, peace in progress, strength in stillness. You are now walking proof that silence builds soldiers. When you went quiet, you didn't quit. You evolved. You were reconstructing your identity. You were releasing old versions of yourself that could not carry the new energy you were stepping into. That's why you lost certain friendships, relationships, and environments. They weren't aligned with your next level. And though it hurt, you now understand that losing them was necessary. The silence was a sacred filter. Everything that wasn't real fell away. Only truth remained. You've probably noticed that your energy feels different now. You walk into a room and people can feel something about you. That's not arrogance. That's presence. It's the vibration of someone who has walked through darkness and found light without losing their heart. That frequency can't be faked. It comes from silence, solitude, and surrender. That's why the enemy can't touch you anymore, because you no longer fight with emotion, you move with awareness. You've learned to observe, not react. You've learned that stillness is your shield. God built you in silence so you'd stop depending on noise to know your worth. He made you invisible so you'd discover your value without validation. He silenced your environment so you'd learn to hear His voice within. Every disappointment became a divine appointment. Every breakdown became a breakthrough in disguise. And every moment you thought was a dead end was actually a divine redirection toward destiny. You were being rerouted, not rejected. When you finally emerge from that silent season, you carry something unshakable: clarity. You're no longer chasing things that drain your energy. You're no longer settling for people who confuse your spirit. You've learned that peace is the ultimate power. You've realized that not every battle deserves your energy, and not every invitation deserves your presence. The silence made you selective. It taught you that your energy is sacred, and not everyone should have access to it. The chosen ones often look calm, but that calmness hides spiritual warfare won in silence. No one saw the nights you prayed when you could have panicked. No one saw the tears you wiped in private. No one saw the strength it took to keep believing when nothing made sense. But heaven saw it all. Heaven recorded every moment, and heaven rewarded it with resilience. That's why now, even in uncertainty, you radiate confidence. You've been here before. You've walked through darkness and survived. You know that silence never means absence. It means preparation. Every great thing begins in silence. Seeds grow underground before they touch the light. Stars are born in the quiet of the cosmos before they illuminate the sky. And you, chosen one, were formed in silence before you were called to shine. The foundation you carry is not fragile. It's divine architecture. God took his time with you because he wasn't building a moment. He was building a movement. You were never meant to be temporary. That's why your process took time. You are being released now with purpose, precision, and power. But never forget where your strength was born, in the quiet. The silence taught you to listen before you speak, to move with intention, and to wait for divine timing. It's why you no longer force things. You attract what aligns and release what doesn't. The old you chased, the new you creates. The old you doubted, the new you trusts. The old you reacted, the new you responds. Silence didn't just prepare you, it transformed you. There's a peace you carry now that doesn't come from the absence of problems, but from the presence of perspective. You know that storms don't last forever, and every wave carries wisdom. You've learned to flow instead of fight. You've learned that your power isn't in resistance, but in resilience. That's what it means to be built in silence, to be anchored in peace while everything around you shifts. You've mastered the art of stillness in a world addicted to noise. Chosen one, your silence is your story. It's the invisible chapter that gave birth to your strength. It's the sacred soil where your purpose grew roots. Never be ashamed of your quiet seasons. They are proof of divine intimacy. While others were distracted by noise, you were listening to God. While others were performing, you were being perfected. While others were chasing platforms, you were being prepared for purpose. That's why your rise will be real, not rushed. And that's why your foundation can't be broken, because it was built in silence.